A lot of survivors, when they're in the worst of it, when they're first getting their memories and first discovering that they have personalities, and, they are very upset with their level of dysfunction. So can you explain a little bit about how dysfunctional you were at the worst of it, which would have been, I assume, age 31, 32, 33, based on...
Actually, from about 31 through till about 37, actually.
31 to 37, okay.
Thereabouts, yeah.
So,
And how dysfunctional was I? I was useless. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't look after my home. I couldn't work. I was also going through learning that everything in my life had been abuse. So I was learning how to parent and taking training how to parent and stuff, which actually helped a lot in that. That gave me child development stages and helped me to understand what was going on for me with the altars and my own healing and stuff too. But I was very dysfunctional. I pretty much lost the ability to have fun, to laugh, to joke. I cried all the time. I felt like I never stopped crying. I just stopped going places because I would only cry. It was very hard to do much of anything but the therapy. I couldn't really pull myself away from it into living life. Yeah, all I could really do was deal with what I've got coming up, coming to an understanding of myself, what was going on, drawing, writing, screwy sleep hours, nightmares when it first started, terrible nightmares, and the asthma attacks and panic attacks and things like that would get very extreme. Trying to talk to people, I always wanted to tell people about it, and it would just spill forth everywhere. It took quite a few years before I learned that I was traumatizing people with the content of what I was spilling at them. You can't just randomly tell everybody this stuff. It's not good for them. So I was driving people away in the process because I was traumatizing them. So it was like I didn't know how to seek support properly. It was like sometimes I was like a little child and I couldn't even think how to cook or shop. I actually had times when I had always had a very functional altar system where there was always, I looked sane, felt to some degree, and they didn't just randomly switch. They did a very functional system of switches. And then when I was in the first few years of therapy, I was busily trying to control that, and that messed my system up really bad. And so then the wrong altars would pop out in the wrong places. I'd be in the grocery store and all of a sudden a 6-year-old altar comes out and all I can see is the Pez candy dispensers. I can't read my list. I can't do anything. So there was a few years there where it was very, very dysfunctional. Critically so. I had home support. I had friends and people. Thank goodness I had people that could help me. And I had a lot of the physical symptoms of the damage that had been done when I was young and the altars that carried the physical damage. So I had a lot of, I had about a year where I walked like I was palsied. My legs and my arms and my hands just didn't work. I flapped. And it was like all the worst stuff came gushing into my existence, and I couldn't escape it no matter what I did or where I went, and I was stuck with it. I couldn't do anything but deal with it. At that point, it ceased to be a choice. I was either going to deal, or I was going to be locked up, or I was going to die or something.
Wow. Were you suicidal also at parts in there?
Fairly soon after I found out I was multiple, I was suicidal within the first year, because there was an altar specifically trained to be making sure that I died if I told. And luckily I had good therapists at that point and even a boyfriend, and they all took my keys away from my car because this part was supposed to hit a tree. And then there was other bits, but mostly I was able to not follow through on the suicide stuff because I'd done a lot of learning on it as a teenager, and I was just like, and I tried to kill myself once as a teenager, and I woke up after a whole lot of pills and I was awake while my friends were around, and I was paralyzed and couldn't communicate, couldn't open my eyes. And so it was a very terrifying experience. So I had some experience that sort of overrode that, I guess. And I had a kid. And for me, there was a huge lot of fear that if something happened to me, my family would get my son. And so I had an inner drive that even when I wanted to die more than anything, I couldn't because of my son. But what did happen was that some of the other stuff kicked in on a not consciously trying to kill myself level, and my lungs collapsed, and other physical trainings that they'd given me to make my body betray me and kill me by itself. And so I was having lung collapses, and I ended up with lung surgery from it, and that nearly killed me. That very nearly killed me.
Wow. Looking back at this whole process with reliving the horrible physical parts of the trauma and having the actual physical symptoms, do you have any advice about how people can reduce the impact of that, how they can prevent those symptoms from hitting them so hard?
Identify them, connect with them. When you reclaim the memory, notice the things that it would be attached to it, the body parts. And for me, I also came to, if I have something going on with my body that's causing me problems, I ask, what is this, a memory? Is this related to a memory? Is this something from the past? And that was actually a lot of times the reason I went to certain memories at certain times was because I was healing my physical being, and by finding the root causes of the physical suffering. And that's a point where I would throw in that myself, metaphysics and the power of the mind and the emotions to impact our physical being. That's, to me, a critical aspect of it all. There's a woman that's pretty famous, I think, Louise L. Hay, and she does things like heal your body and stuff. And she has a little handbook, and it lists it lists your illness or your symptom, and then it lists thoughts that are probably at the cause of it, and then new affirmative thoughts to link. And I would look at that and see what kind of thoughts it listed as going with this body symptom, and I was always shocked that it was just it was the things that were spinning in my mind at that time is exactly what was going on. And so then I would start working on the affirmatives. So like for lung problems are, you want to die. Well, that makes total sense. I really wanted to die from the time I was really little. And so the affirmation is that life is for me. It's safe for me to live. And I would start working on that. Back stuff is about being supported. So I would affirm that I'm being supported, while I would also track I would ask, what memories, what experiences linked in with this? What are the ones that gave me that belief or that message, or what things are going on that are feeding me that right now? So I kind of worked at it all at once. And one would lead in, like a memory might lead into helping my body, but then a body thing might lead into helping the other healing. So I couldn't separate it. It's all mixed package.
When you say, I would ask, does this feeling have something to do with a memory? Would you
ask myself,
be addressing your alters, or would you just be kind of being in that state of mind of what is this, and how did you do that?
Yeah, if there was an alter that I knew it was to do with, then I would ask that specific alter. But generally I ask just, okay, what's this about? And then I just it would be just a general internal asking. And I think it's common to other people's alter systems. I don't know, but for sure. But for my own, there was always some part, and I think it maybe is the soul or spirit, that understands and knows where to steer in the healing. Follow this. Don't go there yet. Do this piece first. Here's the answer to this that you can have now. 5 years later, I get the next piece of that answer, and when I'm ready for it. And I really believe there's some kind of divine timing or something, and some inner self that is beyond the altars that guides the healing process.
What would you say to people who are terrified to go into that space of asking themselves, what is this about, who are afraid of the memories?
What started me on it was the basic thing, and I think this might apply. Are you going to use your energy running from it or finding out what it is? It took way more energy to run from it and to fight it and to keep it down than it took to find it, face it, deal with it, be real and heal, you know? It all takes energy, but I might as well have a positive result at the end. And so I would suggest that it's always a better use of your energy. And plus, I really don't like having the same old crap repeating again and again in my life. And if I don't deal with it, that's what happens. So you got something to deal with. It's going to get better if you do.
Fantastic.